Okay, so are you ready to dive in? Today we're going to see if Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone is really worth reading. I mean, yeah, everyone's heard of it, but is it, like, actually good? Especially if you're not 11 anymore, you know?
That's a good question to ask. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hype around it. But honestly, yeah, it's good, it's fun, well written, and it's one of those that even adults can enjoy, surprisingly.
Oh, really? So you're saying it's not just nostalgia, like for people who read it when they were kids, you're saying it's actually, like, a good book.
Exactly. It's like, you know that chosen one thing you see in all these fantasy stories?
Right.
Rowling nails it. Even if you've seen it a million times before, she makes it feel new and exciting.
I guess kind of like Pussy Jackson.
Yeah, exactly. Like Percy Jackson, another great series, but totally different, right? Like, same idea, but different vibe.
So, like, familiar, but also, like, new.
Yeah. And that's what's so cool about the world she builds, too. Like,
Yeah.
the magic system. It's whimsical, but it also makes sense, you know? It's not just random spells. There are rules. It's a system.
Right. Well,
Think about Quidditch. It's like, it has rules, strategies, fouls, just like a real sport.
okay, I see what you mean. So it's not just like poof, magic. There's actually thought behind it, huh? Makes it feel more real.
Exactly. And that goes for the characters, too, and their relationships. The whole school setting really makes it work.
Right. The school.
Yeah, like you get those rivalries, alliances, like in Hunger Games or like a series of unfortunate events. Hogwarts is like its own little world, you know? It has its own rules, its own social order, its own drama.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you. I do love a good boarding school story.
Mhm.
The Secret Garden is like my favorite. But okay, here's the thing. If Philosopher's Stone is for kids, won't it feel kind of simple? You know, like can adults really get into it?
I get what you mean, but honestly, you might be surprised. It's definitely written so younger readers can enjoy it, but it's like simple, you know? It still has depth.
Yeah.
It's complex. Like, take how she introduces Voldemort. You don't see him as this big bad villain right away. You get hints about his past, why he is the way he is, through flashbacks and stuff. And that mystery keeps you hooked. You want to know more.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, it's not just good guys versus bad guys immediately, right?
Right. And Rowling is so good at that, creating mystery. She gives you these hints about Harry, his past, what happened to his parents, you know, these little pieces of information to keep you going.
So even if you know the story or you've seen the movies, it's still interesting.
Totally. It's not just a simple, straight line kind of story. There are layers there.
Okay, but okay, how's the writing itself? Is it like actually good writing? I don't want it to feel like, you know, a kid's book.
Oh, trust me, it's not simple at all. She has these vivid descriptions, the dialogue is great, and even though they're doing magic and flying around, the characters feel real.
Okay.
Like, remember when Harry first goes to Diagon Alley? It's so busy, so many crazy shops, weird people. You can practically smell the potions, feel the cobblestones.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. It's the world building. You're right. It's not just what happens, it's all the details.
Yes, exactly. And even the characters. Think about Ron. He's not just the funny sidekick, right?
Yeah.
He's got his own issues, his family stuff. He grows over the story. He's funny and relatable. And ultimately, he's a true friend.
Yeah, okay, I get it. I
Yeah.
can see why people love this book. But you know what? There's something else. Okay, so we talked about the worlds and the writing, but I've seen some reviews that mention how certain groups are shown in the book, like the non-magical people, the Muggles.
Yeah.
Kind of makes me wonder if there's like some prejudice there. Like, would that make some readers uncomfortable?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, this first book doesn't really dig into that whole prejudice thing too much, but it is there, kinda. Like how they use that word mudblood.
Right,
It's like
with
similar against witches and wizards who were born to non-magical parents. And it shows how some wizards are obsessed with this blood purity thing, which, you know, is like racism in the real world.
So even though it's fantasy, there are those real-world parallels. Something to think about.
Exactly. And it's worth noting that Rowling does go deeper into this stuff in the later books.
Oh, she does.
Yeah, it becomes a big part of the story. That conflict between the pureblood wizards and everyone else. It's like mirroring those real-world fights against prejudice and all that.
Interesting. So maybe this first book doesn't really deal with it head on, but it sets it up for later in the series.
Exactly. It's what makes the series so interesting, really. It's not afraid to talk about these tough topics, even in this magical world.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
It makes you think, too, you know, about prejudice, about discrimination, about fighting for equality, even when there's magic involved.
Right. Right. Okay, so we've covered a lot about this book, the writing, the world, the characters, even some of the deeper stuff going on. But for someone who's still not sure about reading Harry Potter, like what's the biggest reason you'd say to just go for it?
That's a good question. I think the best part of this book, and the whole series really, is that feeling of wonder and escape you get.
Escape.
Yeah, like Rowling just creates this world that feels so real. It pulls you in, you get lost in the magic. It's like being a kid again, when anything felt possible. And who doesn't want a bit of that?
You know what? Yeah, I get that. That feeling of just escaping into something else, forgetting about all the real world stuff for a while.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter how old you are, 10 or 60, we all need a little magic sometimes, right? And Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, well, it's got that in spades.
Okay, so it's fun, it's an escape. But some people want more than that. Like what makes it so special? Why is it this huge phenomenon? Why do so many people love it?
It's everything together, I think. Like, she's a great storyteller, the characters are relatable, the world is amazing, it all just works. And then there's the friendship, too. Harry, Ron, and Hermione.
Yeah.
It's so real, so heartwarming. It gets to you.
Yeah, their friendship is like the heart of the story, I guess.
Exactly. They're there for each other through everything. They face danger together, and in the end, their friendship wins. It can beat anything, even your really dark stuff.
You're right. Friendship and courage. That's something everyone gets, no matter who you are, where you're from.
Exactly. That's why Philosopher's Stone is so powerful, I think. It's a story that just lasts.
So yeah, to wrap it up, we've really gone deep into Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone today. We've talked about all the good stuff and some things to maybe think about. But ultimately, is it worth reading? What do you think? It really is. Yeah. There are a few little things here and there, but overall, it's a great book. It's a fantastic start to the whole series. Even if you just read this one, it stands on its own. So that's a yes from you. But for our listener, who's still trying to decide, who do you think would enjoy this book the most?
Well, if you're into fantasy, for sure. Especially if you like stories that are set in schools. Like, have you read The Magicians?
By Lev Grossman?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
If you like that kind of setting and you're up for a lighthearted adventure with a bit of a, dark edge, then Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone is, yeah, definitely worth checking out.
It's a book that started something huge. I mean, millions of people have imagined walking through that wall at Platform 9 to 3/4, right? And going on these magical adventures. And this deep dive, we wanted to give you a taste of that. Show you the magic, talk about the things people say about it, and really see why it's been so popular for, like, ever. So now it's up to you. Are you going to join the Potterheads? Are you going to see what all the fuss is about?